Coach Knowles portion of these with Andy Anders, Letterman Rowe. Nope, Lemon Warriors.
Jim, what are you seeing out of this Tennessee running game? Obviously, cold weather, ground game is going to be important. Just what stands out about it?
You know, they spread you out from sideline to sideline. You know, and they create seams in your defense and combine that with tempo. You know, you have to get lined up fast. It's a challenge, but you know, we got the right guys to do it, and I'm confident in our players. They've been working hard and confident in the plan.
Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
The offensive line, I'm not sure, but the offensive line is obviously got some issues, and a lot of people are going to think that if Washington's going to win national championships, it's going to have to really rely on the defense. How confident are you that it comes down to, hey, almost having to shut out teams or at least limit them to points or whatever? That you guys are up to now?
Yeah, I'm confident in our players. I'm confident in the way they perform in crucial moments. Never put a limit on it, or you know, we have to do this or that. Always confident in our team and all the members of our team, but also you know, willing to wear that that defense can win, and that we can win the game on defense. That's everything that I've been working on since I've gotten here, and I know there have been times that we have done that. So we have a history of it. The guys know they can do it, and I think they take pride in that. That if it comes to the defense winning, then that's what we have to do. We got to do our job for the team, for the program, for the fans. We got to do our job. So take everything else out of it, like you said. It doesn't matter what else happens. We have to do our job.
Over to the left. Oh, go ahead. This time, yes.
Your cornerbacks are obviously talented players, but they've each had bumps in the road this year. The way that Tennessee spread you out, probably going to put a lot of pressure on those guys. How much confidence do you have in Denzel?
Great confidence in both of them. Jermaine also. You know, it really doesn't matter who you're playing. Tennessee will challenge us in certain ways, but those guys are on an island all the time. I mean, like I said, forget who you're playing. It's one-on-one many times out there. I mean, anybody can just step back and throw the ball up in the air. So we have complete confidence in our corners. There are ups and downs in any season, in any career, but those guys are great players, and they're really good people, and they work hard, and they're resilient, and they bounce back, and they're gonna have a great game.
Steve Hellwagen, 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Coach, the defense has played so well the last 6 games. I'm going to be picking nits here, but the last game against Michigan, looking at the snap counts again, it seemed like the defensive line went the whole distance, and there could be a question, were they good enough in the fourth quarter, the way that Michigan held the ball against you? Is there any thought, I mean, you know, you play, say, Iowa, and the backups get 20, 30 plays, but then you get in these quote-unquote big games, and the other players don't play at all. Just, is there a thought to mix that up going into the playoff?
You have to, I think as a coordinator, you have to, and I'm sure Coach Day believes this too, you have to trust your coaches. I mean, Coach Johnson's been doing this a long time. There's no one else we would want to make those decisions. So, you know, I think there's a natural tendency of coaches who've been around a while that, you know, when times are tight, to go with those guys who have been in those situations. We'd always like to play as many guys as possible, but those decisions happen at the moment, you know. And I know, and I think everybody in this room and all our fans know that Coach Jay is going to make the best decisions for the team and the program.
Austin Ward, Bobcats.
You were talking earlier about the defense doing their job and doing enough to win. I'm sure that they felt in the game that you all did enough on that side of the ball to win the game. Have you?
Did we win?
Did not.
And we did.
So they,
You know, it's that-
so they don't feel that way?
No, I mean, it's that simple. I mean, this is a team game. It's the greatest team sport there is, and you know, if if it takes 3-0, it's 3-0. I mean, you know, we have to look at it and always strive for perfection. Every game's different, right? So you're not going to walk away from a game in this sport, you know, at this level. It's, well, you know, we did our job. It's not how it is. These guys sweat and bond, and we all know the time and effort they put in, and you know they stick together. So, you know, whatever it takes to win, either you do or you don't. You know, there were plays that we could have made. There were, and our guys would tell you that.
Fourth row right, Stefan Kreisnick, Cleveland.com.
A few weeks ago, Lathan Ransom was finalist for one of the Comeback Player of the Year awards. I know it hasn't just been about, you know, coming back from last season's injury for him either. I guess, what have you thought of the way, you know, he's kind of handled some of the adversity in his career, the opportunity he has here in the playoffs, kind of go out on a strong note?
Yeah, awesome young man, great leader. Just one of those guys that it's why you get into coaching, you know, to be a part of that kind of career. You know, Lathan has had adversity, injury-wise, on the field, and he is finishing strong. He really is. And our players have the utmost respect for him, and I expect that he's going to have a great final to his career also.
Kellyanne Stitz, WSYX.
NC quarterback Nico Yamaleyava is his first year as a starter. He's young but talented. What stands out about him?
You know, he's got a really strong arm. Really strong arm. So the type of offense that they play, he has to be able to make throws from hash to the sideline. And he's got a cannon. And then I think he's faster than everybody thinks. He's fast. And he makes a lot of plays with his feet also.
Tom Taberry, WBNS.
Coach, as you said earlier, they have a dynamic offense, like to spread the field. This is a home game for you guys. The CFP is going to play a little bit of role, but you know the fans are still Buckeye fans. How much of an advantage does it give the defense when the fans are loud and you have a message for the fans?
Yeah, I mean, it's a home game. We treat it like any other home game. You know, it's historic, but it's still our field, our stadium. You know, and our job as a defense is to defend that, and we will. But we'll take all the help that we can get. So, you know, everybody bring their loudest voices and hand warmers or whatever it takes to yell loud.
Deep middle, Tony Gerben, Buckeye Huddle.
Jim, defending the up tempo and the no huddle that Tennessee does, a lot of people think that the up tempo is just throwing the ball around. Tennessee's kind of the opposite. Is there a difference in defending the up tempo against a run heavy RPO offense as opposed to a pass heavy offense?
There's a difference, but you know, they do it as well as anybody has, because when you're doing it right, I mean, every play is has a run, has a pass, and it's 50-50, and you're gaining as many yards in the air as you do on the ground, which I think they're pretty close. You know, so they're doing it, I believe, the way it was built to be, and they're doing it well.
Is there how much in-helmet communication will there be for you in this game?
There'll be in-helmet communication, but you have to operate a lot of different ways, right? Because things happen really fast. So you got to use that. You got to use signals. You got to use every method you have to get the message across. But there'll still be communication.
Matt Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Speaking of the tempo, when you're preparing for that, I know you guys use it sometimes, but clearly not as much as Tennessee does. How do you prepare guys for that? And in your experience, how different is it when you actually get in the game and go against it than what
It's
you
a lot different when you get to the game. That's how I opened the week with telling the guys we're going to do everything we can to prepare you. But it's like when you play an option team and you show up, you know, it's a lot different. So, you know, our preparation methods are, you know, Coach Day can have our two offense, you know, run a series of tempo plays. And then we have actually trained our scout team to run tempo plays. So our scout team runs tempo plays. So, you know, we can come in with a set of the two offense going fast, and then we can bring, the scout team guys in, and they have their own signals that they run, and they run plays. So, and then like even when we're not, because you can't go tempo all the time with your scout team, I mean, those guys do a great job. I mean, with the numbers going down and everything, I think college football is really gonna feel that effect, because, you have these scout team guys that they never get to play, and all they do is work and practice, and my hat's off to them. But, so the way you try to simulate it is, even when you're not going tempo, you'll a lot of times have the defense like turn their backs to the offense, or like, hey, you 11 guys go line up over there, and then the offense comes running here, and then you have to sprint over to your position and line up and play. So you're trying to be creative to create any way you can, so they understand the speed and the decision making that's going to have to take place.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Jim, you have not faced a lot of teams that play tempo quite like Tennessee did, just the way the schedule is, and a lot of teams that play you guys try to do the opposite, where they milk a lot of clock. Does that at all make it harder in preparation?
It doesn't make it harder, it makes it different, but I think we're ahead of the game that way. I mean, our defense is built that way. It's built for tempo. David Cutcliffe made me do that back in the day at Duke. So hats off, Coach Cut. It helps, yeah. Because this is what everybody was doing, right? 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I mean, 14, I lose track of time.
Why do you say it's built for tempo?
That's how we set it up. Our calls and everything. It's been that way in this system since back then at Duke with Coach Cutcliffe. So it's built for tempo. And that's like when I first started it back then with Coach Cut. He said he wanted to be this is when it was all the rage. He said he wanted to be the fastest play calling defense in the country. That's what we are. We remain that way. We're the fastest play calling defense in the country.
That's the way you signal on the play.
It's the way we do it.
Steven Means, Cleveland.com.
That was an interesting quote. Now, after the Oregon game, I think that's the only team to that point that's really played at this level of tempo that you guys have faced this year. When you first got here, there was maybe an adjustment period to calling defenses in the Big Ten, and this seems to be more like what your background. What were those conversations like with Ryan Day? Take us through those 2 weeks of essentially kind of revamping the defense a little bit in a way that's not only gotten back to what you were before you got here, but maybe also helped set you up for what could be coming on Saturday.
Yeah. What are we doing wrong? How do we get better? How do we put the players in better position? What are some of the things that we've done in the past that we can utilize? What are the tweaks we can make to it? What do our guys do well? What do they struggle with? All those things, and it was a great process to be a part of. Not an overhaul, but a reevaluation at that point. That game was not what we wanted it to be, so we had to take a look at ourselves, and like I said, it's about winning. So when we don't, and we don't play well enough, we got to take a look at that.
There were things that you guys tried over the past month before Indiana, Michigan, that maybe could work in a game like the Jack. Is that something? I mean, you've had time to maybe prepare for stuff. Could we see the Jack in this game, or other things that maybe you tested throughout the last month that maybe you were thinking with this type of game in mind that you would use?
No comment.
Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, Jim, following up on Austin's earlier question, when the defense plays well enough to win, and you don't win, there's gotta be frustration that builds up.
Who says we played well enough to win if we don't win? That's my point.
Well,
That's my point.
you play very well, the offense maybe doesn't play as well. There's gotta be frustration. I would think beyond the X's and O's of coaching, working through that frustration with your unit, that side of the ball, how do you keep that from sort of splintering? I know you've talked about team.
Well, you gotta have a good team, you gotta have good leaders, number one, right? We're only gonna talk about, hey, what did we do well? What can we do better? Here are the plays we made, here are the plays we didn't make, you know, how do we get better and improve? And we're also gonna talk about, hey, you remember, you know, we had a game that wasn't so good this year. Remember how that felt? When everybody was pointing the finger at you? And they can nod their head and say, yeah. I said, well, go pick up one of your offensive buddies then. That's what you do, you know, you've been there. So go lift up somebody else.
Bill Landis, Kings of the North.
Jim, I think earlier this year, Josh Heupel kind of pushed back on the notion of their air raid offense because of how well they run the ball and how often they run the ball. What is your view on that? And I'm wondering, like, if you have any unique perspective, given your time in the Big 12 and how familiar this might be with too.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain labels, but I remember, like, even the air, I don't know, what's air raid, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, is that Mike Leach or, because there's Art Briles, I mean, they used to, didn't they have like that big tight end guy who was like 350 pounds, Art Briles, and they would like, well, they would run, but they would, hit you hard with the run, so, you know, I think, you throw out all the labels, you just look at what's on the tape and you see that they run the ball as well as they throw it.
Jeremy Birmingham podcast.
Jim, obviously, when you get extra time to prepare for one opponent, I mean, it's never a bad thing to have more time, but is there a risk of, like, focusing too much on certain things they do, or how do you balance between what Tennessee does well, what you think they might do, what they haven't shown, heading into a week like this?
Isn't that the process, right? And you're right, a little extra time is good, too much time. I ran into JT in the halls last night. He said, when are you getting out of here? I said, yeah, I need to get out of here because I'm just gonna screw it up at this point. So, sometimes you sit around long enough and things start to look good and you realize, that's not good. You know, I had that idea 10 days ago, it didn't work. So you're right, I mean, at some point you just have to say, so you kind of go through the first week and then you tweak that. You know, you tweak that first week, and then after that, you know, this is what we got.
Folks, apologize, we got players waiting. One more, Tim May, Letterman Road, then we're gonna get some players in here.
Yeah, just two quickies. Number one, when you're prepping for a team like this, you haven't played them. Do you spend a lot of more time, maybe you don't even do this, on the way Arkansas played these guys, especially in the second half, the way Georgia shut them down in the second half? You understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, you do that all the time.
Yeah.
And you're right, with a little extra time, it's always good. You know, you always want to go back to those games where teams played well against your opponent.
Yeah.
You know, so you kind of, you watch everything, put the game plan in, then you go back to those games.
Yeah.
Then you go back to those games, and you keep looking at them to see, you know, how the opponent reacts in those situations and what worked.
Especially after having a half to look at.
Yes,
Yeah.
and what didn't work, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, as we all know, teams do well and you see plays that could have gone the other way, you know, so
Yeah.
you gotta look at everything.
And one of the quickie, you have feelings,
No,
I'm just.
I did used to have a coffee cup that said coaches are people too. you know?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, just a quickie, because we need to talk to you after the game, but Jack Sawyer made one of the great plays in the game history, you know, but really kind of got robbed the way the game turned out. You understand what I'm saying? But in your mind, how great a play was that from the way you watched it? It looked like he kind of picked up out of the corner of his eye the guy coming across and then makes the interception. I mean, just
Amazing,
yeah.
amazing. I mean, like, we all love this game, but it's like a God moment, really, to be honest with you, because we screwed it up.
Yeah.
I get chills thinking about it. We screwed it up, and he was heads up enough to make a play like that.
That's what you gotta have, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, you know, that's how you want your guys to. You want to win, right? But you want to make sure your guys too that they're just able to have those experiences, and that was an amazing. I'm glad you pointed it out because I don't know how many people really understand how amazing that We kinda got loose. We kinda got loose, that's my fault. Right? It's not, I always say about defensive football, it's like, well, I told him to do, he's a really good kid, he didn't do it, so that means it's my fault. But Jack made up for it, so thank you, Jack.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.